You're listening to Menopause Natural Solutions, Episode 30, Emotional Eating with Dina Merhbi. Welcome to Menopause Natural Solutions, your podcast for all things perimenopause and menopause related. Stay tuned as naturopath Jennifer Harrington explains how to use natural therapies for your ultimate health and happiness. So ladies, let me introduce our special guest today, Dina Merhbi. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me, Jennifer.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Your topic is just so interesting for my audience. As we know, at times of menopause, emotional eating can be triggered and it can be exacerbated due to the natural changes of menopause, due to not sleeping well and having mood changes and fatigue and all these kind of things. So you are the perfect guest to have on our show today. So welcome.
Thank you so much.
So I love your slant. So having your background in in dietetics and NLP and yoga and the way you mesh them all together to really focus on mindset. I love that. How did that come about?
Well, as you said, I graduated in dietetics, always, learning calorie counting and really creating a system that we need to be like machines. However, with my specialty that I work mostly with women and men suffering from eating disorders, we noticed how our mind and the belief of ourselves can actually influence our eating habits, even when sometimes we know what we should or what we shouldn't do sometimes for our well-being. So this is why I dove deeper in psychology and NLP and also as a yoga instructor, because well-being goes beyond what is in your plate. It's also how you talk to yourself, how you see situations, and as well how you handle various changes in life. And like we're going to be talking about today, one of the big change for a woman is, yes, we have puberty, we have having a kid, giving birth, but menopause is a big transition for a lot of women, and we do want to bring in a positive way of dealing with it, of moving forward with it, and seeing the joy of that transition period.
Yes. I love that the Chinese call it the second spring. It's a rebirthing, it's a restart, it's a renewal.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, so with emotional eating, how do you know the difference between emotional eating and normal eating?
So when you look at normal eating, you're eating when you're hungry, you stop when you're full, or sometimes you might be at an occasion, like at a wedding or at a holiday event, and you might eat a little bit more than what your fullness is, but then you keep going with your day. There isn't that guilt, there isn't that stress. Life keeps going, keeps moving on. When we talk about emotional eating, as you see here, we're really talking about the emotion. It's whenever we are turning to food as a coping mechanism or as a mood lifter or as an energy lifter. So we might sometimes go, for example, a natural eater, a balanced eater would go to a holiday party, have a piece of cake and say, okay, that's fine, I move on with my day. But an emotional eater, if they feel any stress, any anxiety in their day, or if they're tired and they start maybe eating one piece of cake, then there's maybe that guilt that comes and they're like, I deserve this, I'm tired, or I've been restricting, because restriction is a big thing that actually might lead to emotional eating. And then they might end up eating when they're not hungry, when they're too full, to actually satisfy an emotion that they don't want to feel or that they want to stuff down with food. So this is the big difference between balanced eating, even a bit of overeating once in a while, and emotional eating when we are turning to that food as a coping mechanism, as an activity, as a soothing activity, as a best friend sometimes at the same time.
So what sort of things trigger emotional eating?
One of the big things that we actually saw is 47% of people that diet will develop some type of emotional eating.
Wow.
So when there's a history, so it's big, because when there's a history of dieting, you end up linking food as good or bad. And then when you're feeling stressed or exhausted, you're not going to be going for carrots or salad. You're going to be going for those forbidden foods. So then you're building that emotional eating pattern. The
Yeah.
second thing that we saw a lot with emotional eating, it could be our childhood or even adolescence or even early adulthood. If we ever went through emotional trauma, physical trauma, even sexual abuse, all those are things that make us sometimes turn to food emotionally as a coping mechanism. And when we look in regards to menopause, menopause is a big transition. We might have the empty nest syndrome. We might have weight gain. We might have changes in our career. So all those as well are linked to emotional stress, emotional trauma. And sometimes we will be turning to food because physiologically carbs, sugar, they actually help nullify the system, calm the system, and even give you a boost of happiness.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you fix that? How do you stop that and turn it around?
So when we talk about emotional eating, sometimes we might get very serious about it, but do know that you are not born an emotional eater. So whatever you learn to do, you can actually unlearn and rewire. And that's why we talk about mindset. It took a bit of time for you to build that relationship with food and to understand that the way that you see a situation, the way that you start seeing food, the way that you try to find different coping mechanisms, you are able to reroute from that straight highway that you've been always going to food and going for other types of healing. So the first thing you need to understand with emotional eating, there could be a physical reason. And like you had mentioned, Jennifer, if we're tired, we have hot flashes, we're not sleeping very well, we might actually end up emotionally eating more during the day, especially sugar, for the energy, for the soothing to stay awake. So you do want to make sure that you're eating in a balanced way for what your system needs. So there isn't that physical need to overeat.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the second step of emotional eating, is understanding that the food is there as a band-aid to certain situations. So for example, if every time you come back home and your kids, went off to school, went to college, and you're home alone, and you might be turning to that food when you're sad, it's like, okay, what else can I do? Can I invite my friends over for dinner? Can I go for a walk? Can I go for the gym after work? Can I go and take a shower? So it's whenever there's that emotion, understanding that food is not the only answer, and start being more proactive and bringing all these amazing activities. Like you said, it's like that second spring. It's your time to do you and be you, and do your hobbies, go dancing, join a class that you want, taking that as a moment of me time, not having to always come back home and where food might be that go-to activity.
Yeah, I have a theory that some emotional eaters are just lacking that sweetness in their life. So they're looking for that sweetness in food, but they could actually be getting that sweetness from their life, from their friendship, from their social activities. Yeah, like you mentioned, dancing, like they could be getting that sweetness from dancing. And if you're doing something like ballroom dancing where you're holding somebody's hand, that skin to skin contact, I I really like looking at those sort of lifestyle activities that fill your soul in a more deeper level, more longer lasting level than a hit of chocolate.
And giving yourself that permission that you are allowed to go do something for you. It's writing all those hobbies that you've always wanted to do and you never took the time, and saying, you know what, if I want to go to design school, I want to take ballroom classes, I want to do knitting, I like cooking for people, how about I go volunteer and cook and give kids young cooking classes? There are so many different availabilities of connecting with others, and I think that's what we're missing a lot in our society, is having that connection and being needed, and doing these things just for us.
So maybe it even starts with knowing what it is that you're missing, knowing what it is that you actually would like to do with your time, would like to do with your life, and start dreaming. I
There
think
was,
I
go
think I
ahead.
mentioned to you last time we spoke that I'd had on my list for over a decade that I wanted to take salsa classes. And this year I
Mm-hmm.
finally did it. I've been going for about 3 months now, and it is just so much fun. Where maybe on a Wednesday night previously I might have gone out for dinner. Now I'm going out for dancing, and I get so much more joy from it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not a food related treat.
And like you said, it's you're bringing your body in a different interaction where it's not food related.
Yes.
And it's by bringing those activities, and life is meant to be fun. Now when we're in menopause, we might have be in retirement. This is a time to drop, literally sit down and write everything that you would love to do, no matter how crazy it sounds, and go for it. I actually met somebody when in menopause. She's like, you know what, I've always wanted to learn salsa. And she actually hired a salsa teacher to come down to her basement and to give her and her friends salsa lessons every single Monday.
Perfect. I
So
wish I
it's
knew her.
bringing
I
those
would have joined.
if we're in the same ocean. And the amazing thing about her story now, she's always wanted to be on cruise ships. So now she goes on a cruise ship almost every few months because this is how she loves to connect with herself, having that time for her. So the cruise ship, like a vacation, we want to dream. We want to open up all these things we want to do as if we're a kid, because we are always growing all the time. No matter how old we are always dreaming. We should always have those goals we want to accomplish.
Definitely. I 100% agree with you there. I actually did that exercise earlier this year, my 100 dreams, where I sat down, and it's easy to get to 10. It's easy to get to 20. You start moving to 30 and 40 things, and it's a stretch. And I really like that stretch to go, okay, I'm not even halfway through my life, because when I look at life expectancy, okay, it may be around the 84 mark now, but technology is changing. We're not 84. By the time we get to 84, that won't be the life expectancy anymore. It might be 104. And by the time we get to 104, it might be 124. So we might be here for a long time. We've got lots of time to fill, is another way of looking at it. A lot of people think life is short. It's like, well, what if it was longer? How would you fill your days? What activities, what destinations? Like on my list is different ways to cook food. I'm British Australian, so my cooking's very British Australian. When I moved to Thailand, I learned how to cook Thai food, and I'd love to go and learn how to cook Lebanese food. I went to an amazing Lebanese restaurant the other night, and I just loved the food, and I would love to learn how to cook it authentically. So that's also getting back to food, which might or might not be, but sometimes you can get new associations.
Yeah. Because you want to come out of that routine very often. And this is something that is common with everybody, no matter how old we are. We get too comfortable in our comfort zone.
Yes.
But when we're too much in our comfort zone, we are always scared of taking these chances. So we always resort back to old habits. And turning to food, since we're born, food is soothing, food is fun. You go, you have a good note on the exam, people go take you out for dinner. Like, food is always part of our society. So you always have to look at that comfort zone. And if you're not comfortable where you are in your body in this transition, it's being like that kid who's ready, who thinks he's Superman, puts a cape around his shoulders and just runs around the house thinking he's Superman. We want to be in that dream phase, and we do want to come out of that comfort zone. And it's really outside of that comfort zone, like you're saying, Jennifer, you want to cook authentically. You're learning new things because you are stepping outside of the norm, which is outside of your comfort zone, which is amazing. And it's things that you want to do at the same time.
Well, I always found the best time to break a habit and create a new habit is in times of transition. So that's what this perimenopause journey is. It's that transition into menopause. And a lot of women change jobs, move houses, relationships ends. It's a massive time of transition on all levels of your life. And if you are doing things differently, it's the perfect time to create a new habit. So you might be
Mm-hmm.
starting a new job that maybe starts an hour later. So maybe you can do an hour of exercise, and that just creates your new habit because you've never started at that time before. And that's just how your day will flow from that point on.
And the same thing, like you said, seeing this not as you're entering, the dead of winter and this is the end. A lot of people feel like perimenopause and menopause is like something is finishing, but you also want to see after winter, there's that spring, something else is starting. And you can start this in any way that you want. And by doing these fun activities, you will not be wanting to be at home and resort just to food for that sweetness that you're seeking in your life because you're taking action. And meeting groups of women that are going through what you're going through and doing those activities will sometimes give us that little push to actually do all those fun activities to enjoy this period because it's menopause. But we still have maybe another 40, 50, 60 years ahead of us.
Who knows? Maybe longer.
Maybe longer because menopause can hit at any age.
Yeah.
But it's seeing it as I'm hitting menopause. It's one thing, but it does not define who you are.
And it's earlier and earlier
change.
these days that some women are going through premature menopause. There are a lot of women out there going through medical menopauses at a very early age. So it can be any age, like you mentioned.
And seeing it doesn't define you. You're going through menopause. You are not menopause. It's just a change.
Yeah.
But you need to keep going, keep evolving, keep dreaming, and keep, being like that kid with a Superman cape and running around and enjoying life.
I guess the only warning I would have is misery loves company. So sometimes you need to go out and start new things so you can meet new people to help create a new mindset. That if you always, like they say that you become the top 5 people that you hang around with. So if you're looking around and the top 5 people that you're hanging around with are go-getters, action takers, lovers of life, then you're in the right corner. If you're looking around and everybody's complaining, nobody's really enjoying life, I'm not saying to get rid of them. I'm just saying to try and find new people to also put in the top 5 people that you spend your time with.
And it is that transition of not necessarily letting go of some friends, but prioritizing meeting new people for this new venture. Because I have some friends that are older than me and they're all like, oh, once menopause is going to hit, it's going to be the end. And I'm like, yeah, the end of maybe cramps and bleeding, but there's so many other things we're going to accomplish. So they might sometimes be kind of like down about it, like you're saying, if they're always like complaining about it. But you need to make sure that you're there, you're connected with them, but you don't want them to bring you down. You need to reshift and find people that can uplift you in this amazing phase of your life.
Yes, definitely on board with that. So do you have any other solutions that can help women get out of their emotional eating habits?
So one of the most important tips, for sure, we looked at the physical aspect of emotional eating. I've seen more and more of my clients, as they're getting older, they're neglecting their protein intake. And
definitely.
And when we're like, oh, I'm getting older, I'm not training much, I don't need protein. Actually, it's the opposite. We need to bring up our protein intake. Let it be animal source, vegetarian source. Bringing up your protein intake will actually help you balance your sugar cravings. Because if you're craving sugar, you might be actually under eating your protein. So make sure you're having that protein. You don't need to be muscle building to eat protein. You still need to eat protein every meal and every snack.
See, ladies, you're not the only one that says it. Dina says it as well. There's 2 of us telling you.
Eat your protein. And every person that started eating their protein, you're going to have big shifts, which means you're going to have more energy, less cravings. And sometimes we tend to emotionally eat because we're gaining weight. But if you're having that protein and you're balancing your energy, this is going to be the first key to help you lose weight if you gain some through menopause. Protein, and more protein, ladies. It's not just for the men, it's more for the women, actually.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is during the menopausal transition, your natural production of digestive enzymes and digestive acids may reduce. So if you're finding that you're struggling to eat, say, for example, a steak, then have a look at different forms of protein, but also look at ways to increase your digestive fire. And it can be things like simple things like freshly squeezed lemon in water before the meal. Or it can be supplementing with digestive enzymes. But you need the protein. If you can't tolerate it, you can't digest it, come and get some help, because there's things we can do to help improve your digestion so you can eat it, you can tolerate it, and you can get the benefits of having a healthier diet.
And like you said, consulting with somebody, because you don't have to do this on your own. And there's so many different types of protein, and digestion does slow down. So you want to touch base with the protein, make sure your fiber intake is good, your water intake is good, but movement as well is going to be something to help the digestion. So like you said, Jennifer, it's always good to consult, because there's a good way of finding that balance. Because once you find that
hydration.
You know how often we see so many ads for cream and wrinkles, and they're like, it hydrates your skin, it hydrates this. The easiest
So does water.
So does water. And that nice pure water, just simple water, not the sodas, not the juices. Hydration is going to help your digestion move better if you're feeling sluggish. And bloating is a big thing as well when we're getting older with hormonal changes. So being in tune to what your body's telling you, your nutrition will be adaptable. We can make it better to make this transition easier, because every 5 to 10 years, we need to recap what our food is to see how our body's handling it, and we need to update it. So it's fun. It's like a tune-up, right, in a certain way. But hydration, we need to have it. We cannot run away from this. We need that water, ladies.
And what most women don't realize is that being dehydrated decreases their metabolism by 30%. So if you're complaining you're slow and sluggish and gaining weight, it could be as simple as drinking more water.
And did you know that in the brain, thirst and hunger are very connected?
Yes. Good point.
And if your body's always telling you you're thirsty and you're not listening to it, it's going to be like, okay, well, if you're not listening to the thirst, let me tell you you're hungry. And it's so much more tempting to eat sometimes than to drink the water. So hydration will help make sure that that thirst signal is calm, which will actually balance your hunger signals. So for weight balance, for feeling great in your body, water is the easiest tool to integrate every single day.
Perfect. Well, Dina, I've absolutely loved talking to you today. If my listeners are wanting to know how they can get in touch with you, how can they find you?
So if ever you're interested in understanding more about emotional eating, you can always find me on Facebook. Dina Merhbi, you'll see my groups and my Facebook page. And I also have a free guide to help you understand my system, which is the body balance method. So remember when Jennifer, we're going to talk for this podcast, she's like, ooh, dietitian, we're always worried. But I'm more of a nutritional therapist. I help you balance your body, your mind, your fitness, your meditation, everything that you need to actually help you be that best, perfect version of yourself where you are right now. So I do have an amazing free guide that's available as well. So search me on Facebook, let's connect, and I cannot wait. If ever you need any more help, I'm more here to guide you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. I've got so much value out of today. Was there any last thoughts that you wanted to leave?
I think the most, I was like, the one thing I want everybody to understand, women, men, kids, this is your life. It's your terms. It's your choice. You are allowed to make a decision for you. You are allowed to focus on your happiness. You are allowed to keep dreaming like a kid. Seek that support, seek that environment, seek that person that can help you become who you dream to be every single day, but you're scared of reaching out for. So don't let the emotional eating or the transitional phase affect you. You can become whoever you want to become. Believe it, trust it, and seek that support to help you get you there. So don't quit dreaming. Keep going. This is my motto. Like, keep going. Life is amazing. Every single day is a gift.
And if you're struggling, reach out. There's all sorts of practitioners around the world who are just waiting to help you if you're struggling.
That's it. We're here to help.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. And I
Thank you
think we'll
so
have to have
much.
you come back again someday. This has been an emotional chat. It's been
It'll be my pleasure.
awesome. Well, until then, have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Menopause Natural Solutions. If you have enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe, like, and share. The information is provided as a guide and is not designed to replace medical advice.